Gosh, I don't know if I could do it. If I had to pick, I probably would say, hey everybody, Jason here, Deadwood Custom Cycles. Brought a couple of our beauties out here in the sun. Beautiful summer day here in Deadwood. And I wanted to talk to you about two of my most favorite rebuilds that we've ever done here at the shop. They both started out as completely stock bikes, and the customers gave us the go ahead to let us do our thing. Kind of gave us the green light. Just kind of want to show you what we can do with your bike. These are two of my most favorites. This one right here started out life as a 1993 FXLR, right? And then this one started out as a 1995 Softail Custom. As you can see now, they're two of the most customized Harleys you could probably come across. You can kind of tell that they have similar DNA, right? Even though they're two completely different platforms. This one being an FXR, obviously rubber mounted drivetrain. This one being a Softail hard mounted drivetrain. Completely different frames, completely different suspension. Everything's different, but in their own right, they're a full-blown custom. So follow along with me as I talk you through the bikes. This is a 1993 FXLR, and I gotta tell you, it's one of my favorite bikes we've ever done. I say rebuild versus build because they were obviously built first by the motor company. They were built first by Harley-Davidson. So I'm just gonna take you around and kind of show you some of our goodies that we've done with this thing. Obviously, it came all the way down the frame, and one of the similarities you'll see between the FXR and the Softail is they both start with this base color, and we call it BT gray. And the thing about this gray, I don't know what it is, but it just gets me all the time. Every time I see it, I think about what I can do to incorporate it into a bike. And you know, it doesn't matter if it's with gold or black or gray, silver, and chrome. The color just works, right? And that's one of the two things that these two bikes share in common. With the 93 FXR, FXLR is what it started out as. We went back to the 9-spoke cast wheels, which I am a big fan of the original 9 spokes. I'm not a fan as much of the 13-inch spokes as we are of the cast wheel 9 spokes. Paper Street Customs down in Colorado did this right here to the 39mm fork legs. Nice little touch. Could we do that on our lathe? Absolutely we could. However, I saw Ryan Gore do this. I'm not a guy to copy what somebody else does, but I really liked it enough, so I called up Ryan, asked him if he would do a set for us, and we shipped him down to Colorado, and he did it. Ryan from Paper Street Customs. So you talk about the sheet metal for a second. We did a Klock Werks front fender, 14 gauge stamped steel, super strong stuff. Then we went with a V-twin gas tank that we obviously highly modified, did the knee cutouts, put in a Bung King vented brass bung, a lot of brass on this bike, which has kind of become our signature. We did Arlen Ness side covers. Enough said on that. Everybody knows how much we love Arlen Ness around here. And then this is an RWD FXR rear fender. Super stout, super strong. This bike is equipped with Legend suspension front and rear. So it's got 2 over axos inside the black diamond-like coating, fork tubes, gives it that real sinister look. It's got an Arlen Ness fork brace on it for 39mm narrow glides. Obviously, like I said, the Legend axo suspension in the front, and then the Revo arcs in the rear. 3 different settings on these bad boys. Just the best ride that you could possibly get. The engine, and as a lot of you guys know with me, motorcycles are focused around the engine. The engine is our kind of signature 85 cubic inch that we do. We send the flywheels off to Dark Horse. They get redone. We powder coat the cases. We do Revolution Performance high compression 85-inch kit. Bolts right up to the stock crankcases. We send the heads out to Vance and Hines, my guy Rodney over there. We do manual compression releases, and then obviously the guts are all fueling goodies, right? So we do fueling cam, fueling lifters, fueling push rods, internal fueling hardware. This bike also has a ton of external fueling hardware, one of the kits they sell for the FXRs. Going back, or talking more about the sheet metal, this is the Sharknado Fairing from Bagger Nation. I love this fairing because of just the menacing look that it gives. Gives you a little bit of wind protection. Klock Werks makes a flare windshield specifically for it. Then we've got an M8 Fat Bob style light made by Bagger Nation. And then of course we got his lightning bolts in brass. And these are what's called DRLs, daytime running light. You hit the turn signal, they go to amber, super, super bright, right? I just love what this thing looks like when it's going down the road. Then, to complement the Bassani 2-in-1 stainless steel sport bike type exhaust, we did LA Choppers cage fighter style bars, also out of stainless steel. Really just, you know, kind of ties in the two together. Then we used really like, these are like 2014, 2016 style hand controls, hydraulic clutch, of course. I made these brass grips on the lathe. We did a little bit of drag specialties, little chrome or little gold buttons on here just to kind of, you know, kind of tie it all in. Bagger Nation racing levers, Arlen Ness mirrors, right? Magnum shielding, cables and brake lines, hydraulic clutch line. We custom wired the bike, you know, completely from scratch, updated it to do 96 to 13 style hand controls, S&S black Super E big bore carburetor, and then the S&S Stealth air cleaner that goes along with it. Custom powder coating all the way throughout. We did this with a translucent type of gold that gives it that, you know, kind of brass like kind of look to it. Baker OD6 6-speed gives it that 0.86 to 1 overdrive, which is absolutely awesome when you're riding the hills and things like that. They'd be able to reach up and grab that other gear. Custom pegs that I made here on the lathe. Speed Dealer Customs swing arm on the bike that, again, we had custom powder coated, you know, all to match. It's a lot more lightweight, got a lot more strength and rigidity to it. Everybody kind of knows how we roll when it comes around here when it comes to brakes, and Hog Halters are our guys. Mark Thompson from HHI is also another FXR fan, and so he makes brake rotor that is a 9-spoke, that is a dead match for the 9-spoke OEM wheels on an FXR. They're just absolutely gorgeous. They kind of blend right in. This one, we got a 13-inch rotor, and then we did a 6-piston front single brake caliper just to get all the stopping power from the front. We've got HHI radial brake on the back going off the Speed Dealer Custom swing arm, and then again, that same awesome 9-spoke radial brake caliper. We did a Bung King sport bike stunt sprocket on the back, and it's ridiculous. It's something, I think it's like a 62 tooth or a 65 tooth. It's enormous on the back, but having the Baker OD6 kind of complements that. My shift linkage, again, also made from scratch, kind of one-off. BDL clutch inside it, the Feuling derby cover, just all the good things, right? And you can see that this bike is more than just, you know, a looker. It's an absolute rider. LaPera, the folks over there at LaPera, good friends of ours. They do pretty much all of our seats exclusively. They made this one specific for this FXR. Deadwood Custom Cycles logo embroidered on the back. I mean, kind of hard to argue with that. And then, as you would expect, Bagger Nation lightning bolts in the back, serving as run, turn, and brake. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just love this motorcycle. I love everything about it. I love the way it turned out. The customer absolutely is over the moon. He rides the hell out of it. Our boy Eric from Open Throttle Customs did the paint as per the usual. I told him I wanted, you know, the gold leaf. I wanted this militaristic type of look. And so he did all of these panels with the rivets. And then just as a little, I don't know, kind of nod to my personal history, he snuck in 8654, which is the MOS designator for Reconnaissance Marine, jump dive qualified. That's what I was. And then he put in GRS, which was an organization I served with, Global Response Staff. And it just kind of, you know, it's just kind of nice. If you notice, we used ARP 12-point stainless steel hardware throughout the entire bike. That's one of the things for me is I just think the OEM hardware that comes on the motorcycles is fine, right? It does its job. It puts the You know, it keeps the covers on, it keeps everything bolted together, but it's just freaking ugly, you know. And the 12-point hardware that we use is just, to me, is just absolutely gorgeous. I just love it. And it turns it into, it changes the detail of the bike, right? Those little details, like the 12-point hardware, makes all the difference in the world. And it's like jewelry, you know, for your motorcycle. Daytona Twin Tec ignition, set for all the good things. Yeah, this thing is just dialed in. It is just absolute ripper. I couldn't be happier with it. And it runs and rides like a dream. FXRs are where it's at, right? And this, to me, is one of the nicest ones we've ever built. So I would definitely say this is kind of our signature style. I like working with brass a lot. I like it because on the lathe, you get done with the part, you don't have to send it to chrome, you don't have to send it to powder coat. It's like ready right there off the lathe, put it on the bike. I love doing, you know, machine work. It's one of my favorite things. And yes, you could go and buy, you know, similar pegs off the internet and they'd be pretty close, but these ones, custom made the length, custom made the size, got them exactly the length that we want, exactly the style that we want, exactly the diameter that we want, and we can make them in, you know, in any variation thereunto. But yes, that black, gold, brass, that menacing type look, that's definitely kind of our signature style. Not to say that we can't do other stuff like I'm about to show you with the 95, but yeah, I would dare say that the gold leaf, the gray, the black, it's kind of one of our categories that we fall into. So this right here started life as a 1995 Softail Custom. 41 millimeter wide glide front end was on it, stock sheet metal. It was a very well cared for, very well maintained bike. And the customer came in and had a vision. And that vision started out a little bit different, right? We had this vision that we were gonna do a little bit here, a little bit there, but the more we did, the more the customer liked it. And then he just kind of turned us loose. So the first thing we did is we took it all the way down the frame and we shaved off everything that wasn't absolutely necessary to be on the bike. Customer always wanted a Springer. We went to our friends in Nevada, Carson City, Nevada, Paco, and we got one of their shock assisted wide Springers. We then used their fender, their brake caliper mount to give it that kind of sort of OEM look. Obviously Springers are what started out on Harleys, and then they brought them back, you know, in the 90s. You had the bad boy models and things like that, but this Paco right here to me is just as good as it gets. Customer picked out his style of wheels, made by Renegade, super well done chrome. Obviously we upgraded to sealed wheel bearings, which is a nice thing. We did an 18 on the back, we did a 21 on the front. Dan took out the original rivets that were in the front fender, welded them up, smoothed them down to give it that, you know, one little detail that you kind of notice. We custom powder coated the rear legs of the Springer to match the frame, and then we redid the front in a gloss black. And if you look at that right there, you could just kind of see the contrast of the basic elements of this bike: the flat gray, the gloss black, and the chrome. Headwinds, taillight equipped with an LED. This thing is not just for looks, right? It's going to be ridden. John wanted one of our signature set of handlebars. We had actually never done a set that were this tall, but we put the customer on the bike. We had him sit. We told him to close his eyes, put his hands where he wanted them, and we built the handlebars around it. Added a few little pieces of chrome only for the style, right? We could have bolted the handlebars directly to the Springer, but we decided that it needed just a little bit of chrome down there. And then these chrome caps are held in place, you know, with friction O-rings. They're not going anywhere. HHI hand controls. After seeing the paint and the checkerboard, which is kind of a signature thing of, you know, Vans shoes, Vans has come out and licensed hand grips. So we decided to use a set of their hand grips. So you have these really clean HHI hand controls with the buttons, throttle housing, and then very cool Vans grips on both sides. Arlen Ness mirrors, of course. These I think are called like the mini chop or something like that, but just enough, right? Just kind of a minimalist like mirror that you can see perfectly fine out of. However, they're not gaudy. They don't take up, you know, a bunch of space. Then we went with the black pearl brake lines to go with the menacing kind of look of the bike. Again, another paint job by my boy Eric at Open Throttle Customs. In order to tie in the Arlen Ness oil pressure gauge oil line, we did the throttle and idle cable. We did those in the same kind of braided stainless steel. So somebody might look at that and be like, oh, they messed up. They didn't do the throttle and idle cable the same as they did the brake and clutch line. And the fact of the matter is, it's actually intentional. You know, we did that on purpose. Small little bobber style tank. And I gotta tell you, whenever you look at custom bikes, you look at the lines of those custom bikes, and the lines were not working for me. Originally, when we mounted this tank, we had it much lower, probably about 2 inches lower than it was before, and it just didn't flow with the handlebars. And one of the guys in the shop had the idea, just raise the tank. And we did, so we raised it up that 2.5 inches, and it completely changed, you know, the lines of the bike, completely changed it. I like it a lot better now. It doesn't look like the handlebars are quite as tall as they are. But remember, handlebars are not just for looks, but they're mainly for functionality. You got to be comfortable riding the bike. If you're not comfortable riding the bike, you know, what's the point? Back to our signature 85 cubic inch engine. Again, Dark Horse flywheels. We powder coated on this one. We powder coated the cylinders gloss black. We powder coated the heads wrinkle black. And then everything that's chrome you see, we had it re-chromed. These are the original rocker boxes, but the centerpieces, we went and sent them to Gary Du Bois over in Minnesota, had them replate them. Same black, big bore, S&S Super E carburetor, S&S Stealth air cleaner. These exhaust pipes, to me, are just kind of special. One of the guys that worked at the shop back then wanted to get into fab, so gave him just, you know, a little bit of guidance, basically gave him about an hour's class on how to MIG weld, and then he made the pipes. You know, it's kind of one of his first big fabrication projects, tacked them all together with MIG, and then we sent them over to Dan, and Dan final TIG welded them up. But we made these custom heat shields, you know, just not only for the style, but also to provide the customer, you know, with a little bit of protection. Just like on the FXR, billet, S&S HVHP high volume, high pressure oil pump, custom barrel style oil tank. I made the filler cap right there, made these end caps for the exhaust, again, just to kind of give it that contrast, right, between the black and the chrome. One of the coolest things about this right here is this is a Baker, what's called Frankentranny. So it's an overdrive 6-speed with a hydraulic clutch and a kicker. You don't see these very much anymore, but I had one and I just felt like it really, really fit for this project. So talked to the customer, he was all on board. We put the Frankentranny in there for mock-up, and then we took it apart and literally custom powder coated the case and everything, again, for the custom look that kind of goes with everything else, carrying on that wrinkle and gloss black, you know, all along the way. This one, as a Softail, has Legend suspension air ride in it, another RWD rear fender, another LaPera seat. Dan actually shortened these fender struts, because if we would have left them, they would have been sticking out like this far. But he shortened the fender struts. You can't even tell, right? Like if you know what you're looking at, you're like, what the heck? Yeah, but Dan did that where he shortened them, made them look back again factory, and then we had them powder coated. 18-inch Renegade rear wheel, HHI brakes, again, as usual, like we said, Hog Halters hand controls, Hog Halters forward controls. I made these knurled on the lathe, just trying to give it a little bit more of an aggressive feel. And then we found these LA chopper style foot pegs that just kind of really just kind of match the overall, you know, style of the bike. So all the electronics, which were a big pain in the butt, are all hidden. Can't see them, but it's got functioning turn signals on the back. We use Bagger Nation Thunderbolts, and they serve as run, brake, and then they turn to amber when we go to turn signals. So these have all run, all brake, but then the outside ones turn amber, right? And It's just kind of hidden. Tucked in license plate, obviously illuminated. BDL belt drive on this one. Lighten up, get rid of that stock wet primary. Yeah, just all the things, right? Just all the things. This bike is really, you know, just a really good example of what you can do with a stock Softail platform if you want a custom bike. You know, a lot of the, you know, I think a lot of when custom bikes really started taking off, a lot of them were based off of the hidden shock Softail-like platform. And this bike right here, labor of love, right? You're never gonna get your money back out of it or what you do, but it is a good demonstration of what we're capable of here, the entire team coming together in the shop and doing something cool. So of all the bikes that we do and have done, these two are honestly, they're just two of my favorites because you can see the DNA in them, you can see the similarities. If you saw these bikes in a sea of bikes, you would probably say, yeah, it's probably the same builder. They are a good reflection of our style. They're a good reflection of, you know, what our capabilities are when you take a stock bike and turn it into a full-blown custom. And gosh, I mean, I'm not a chrome guy, right? But I like working with chrome. My personal bikes don't really have any chrome on them. So it's not necessarily my thing. However, you can see where the chrome makes sense on this bike, whether with the wheels and the springs and the hand controls, and you know, kind of what we were trying to do there is with the contrast. If I had to pick, gosh, I don't know if I could do it. If I had to pick, I probably would say the FXR would be my favorite because, I mean, it's an FXR. And I'm an FXR guy, and I own quite a few of them, and I love them. But I own a couple Softails too, so I don't know. I mean, that's not fair. That's like, you know, I don't know, that's just not fair. That's like asking me if I like my wife with long hair or short hair. The answer is yes, right? I like it when she has long hair, I like it when she has short hair. Which bike do I like? Yes, I like them both. I built them both. I love them both. Because in their own right, it's just like in a bike show, these bikes probably wouldn't be in the same class or same category because they're different. Different chassis, you know, completely different drive lines. It's, yeah, I don't know. Which one do I like best? Yes. Like and subscribe if you know what's good for you.